everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Scoop with Cindy and Coop. I'm your girl, Cindy.
And I'm your girl, Candace.
I'm like, where you at, girl? Where you at? Come on, wake up. Wake it up.
I'm here. Okay.
Candace, how have you been this week? How has your week been progressing?
There's some starts to your day where you're just like, I'm going to really rock it out. I'm going to drink my green juice. I'm going to drink my water all day. I'm going to eat a salad for lunch. And then there's other days in quarantine where I'm like, oh, the day just shifts to ordering Domino's. I might eat the entire medium handmade pan, only get handmade pan, period. And I might eat the whole thing. And that's just, I'll drink the wine and the beer. So, yeah.
But that's okay.
Quarantine, it's okay.
You got to give yourself that grace,
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. And all I want to do is watch TV. Literally, don't do anything that requires me thinking, anything that requires me to talk too much. I will probably ignore a few calls just so I don't have to speak. Like, fun fact, I'm more of a text person. Like, I don't really like to be on my phone 24/7 texting, but unless I'm really close with you or just really need to have a conversation with you, I don't want to talk on the phone. Yet I will always answer the phone for my friends, no matter how irritated I am.
That's nice. See, I really don't like calls from my boss. Everyone else I'm cool with, but like my boss calls me, I'm just like,
so I hope she or he doesn't watch this.
And even if she does, she already know I don't like to be on the phone with her. She don't like to be on the phone. You know what? It's funny. We follow each other on Twitter, and she be tweeting about the work and stuff. And so it's funny when she's like, God, I hate being on the phone. I'm such an introvert. How do you introverts survive? And I'm like, well, we can make this a text conversation. But she's like, sometimes phone calls are just easier to communicate. I'm like, but I feel like you don't like it either. So,
Send it in an email.
Like, all right, lost in translation. I speak English, unlike a lot of people that I work with, which is fine. Like, we're all trying to be culturally diverse, and it's great. But there is, that communication factor. So you just learn patience. You definitely learn patience. I work in DC with a DC corporation, so it's like everyone. It's a big old nice melting pot, but it does cause for sometimes phone calls over emails.
I feel it. Well, This is always one of my favorite parts of the week, recording Absolutely. With you. It's really like a chit-chat session. We always do our little catch-ups beforehand and then get to the stuff. So now, get into the stuff.
Get to the money. Alrighty.
Okay.
So there's 3 to 4 hot topics that we're just going to kick on. And, we're going to give our little 1-2 tea. And we're going to go by our day because that's what we have to do. So, Cindy, I feel like I'll kick it off. Okay. I'll kick it off and then I'll let you go in. All right. So there's this little hot topic on Twitter, right? And the Sports Illustrated came out with some awards. And a lot of people were upset about the Sportsperson of the Year award because there was, let me put it like this. There was representation, from a lot of angles, but there was lack of for a lot of women in the WNBA. And that just caused a stir, with a lot of people who feel like the WNBA has not gotten the love and support necessary, especially for a year like this when you've had women who have opted out. You had, what's her name, Natasha? Is it Natasha?
Natasha Cloud, yes.
Okay, Natasha Cloud. Okay, cool. And then we also had Renee Montgomery, and she decided to opt out as well. And you had Maya Moore, who's taken, 2 seasons off now to try and get someone out of prison and one of those things. So you had a lot of pioneers in the game, and they were not recognized. Yes. Yes. So it was a lot of people who were not recognized. So those are the things that we feel as though people are trying to listen and learn. However, when it comes to award season and when it comes to recognizing or promoting people for jobs and positions, that's not necessarily reflective, what we're seeing on the end result, I would say. So a lot of stirring up the pot happened this past week. And I want to know from you first, how did you feel with everyone kind of getting flustered and upset about the situation?
So, first I'm going to say like you said, there was representation with the whole overall class of, the ones that were awarded at Sportsperson of the Year, Activist Athlete of the Year. I have 2 bones to pick. So it's not only the WNBA, but the NBA a little bit too. Shout out to Naomi Osaka for getting recognized because I think that was very important. She was a pioneer in tennis. I won't say pioneer, but she did a lot this year where it was I'm speaking out after every game and all of that. Had her mask with a new name on it. Patrick Mahomes was rewarded. Um, so LeBron, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna touch on him a little bit first but shortly, not gonna go long winded with it. We're very aware of LeBron's presence in the NBA, in the world. Honestly, at this point, I feel like it's an easy go to often to give him awards. But to me, he's always doing stuff. He's not the only one doing stuff. And I kind of think that this year there were some that might have warranted a little more attention or a little more um, I guess, respect in the sense of like, they could have been considered for their work. Kyrie Irving being one of them,
Mm-hmm.
as someone who chose to sit out the rest of the NBA season, as well as pay the salaries of the WNBA women who decided to sit out. And I
Yeah.
think that's huge because those women sat out for a reason, the same reason that he was willing to sit out because he felt like it was bringing back sports was taking away the attention from the conversation at hand.
Yeah.
So never knocking anything LeBron does because he's a great activist, great community person. He does so much. But I do think we missed the ball by not highlighting people who are also doing great things, um,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing to attention that it's not only him moving in the community, especially considering a lot of things get done without people knowing. A
Yeah.
lot of things in the community happen without a big announcement because people aren't looking for the praise. They're looking for, just a feel good moment to do something nice for other people. But I do think they still deserve the recognition when it's happening. So
Yeah.
I would have liked to see that. And then WNBA wise, I don't want to take away anything Brianna Stewart has done. She's a great player. This was kind of like her year to shine in the WNBA, but this was a miss the ball moment for sure. The names
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned are the names that should have been considered for this. Maya Moore would have been an easy option. Easy option. Like that was a story of the year, I feel like, with everything going on as far as activism goes.
Sure.
Natasha Cloud, another easy option. Chanae, she's very involved in sports all around as a media person and athlete. So she's definitely been getting her voice out there. It just was lazy and easy to choose Brianna. And then it just adds to the narrative that Black women feel like all their contributions are constantly erased.
Do you
Everything.
feel like she was chosen because she won a championship in a bubble during a year that was so wild and crazy?
I do think it was, like I said, her year. It was easy to
Mm-hmm.
put her as a stamp of a face for the WNBA, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. Skill wise, sure, give her all those accolades, right? Because she earned those. She did what she did. Her team earned it, all of that. But when it comes to activism, and I'm not saying she didn't do anything, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's just so many more options as we're talking about Black women, Black men being able to get the recognition they deserve. It goes
I
beyond like,
also, yeah. I was gonna ask though. I have not seen personally her do stuff, and that's not a knock. It's just like genuinely, I don't know that I've seen her be like a vocal standpoint of like, "Hey,
right.
we're not playing this game tonight." Like, I think I've seen that more from Sue Bird, her
Yeah.
teammate on the Seattle Storm. So I was just curious if you actually had seen her do anything, like not good or bad, whatever. I just, I haven't seen that.
So I don't want to be like, say, no, I haven't, and then just knowing that I haven't even really looked into if she did or not. And
Sure.
that that may be something that we should have probably did, like, see, like, what was the reason why she was more, awarded this. But that alone kind of shows that maybe she wasn't the first choice, right? Because we can
Yeah.
off top say what these other women have done, and
Right.
it's very out there. And again, like I said, people do things that aren't necessarily public for the community to see, but the outrage kind of shows that maybe she wasn't doing the most or whatever the case may be. But
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the people that are doing stuff without looking for the recognition are doing it always for the right reasons. Like, I'm not saying the people who are getting the praise or are making, a spectacle out of it are not, but I feel like awards always have that feeling of, we talk about Grammys and, we talk about Academy Awards and who got snubbed all the time. And I think that at the end of the day, you can't hold yourself to a certain standard of like, if I didn't win an award, that means I'm not affecting change. Like, so many of these young women are doing such big things, and like, I hope that doesn't deter them from trying to continue to do good work just because Sports Illustrated didn't recognize it. Like, your work is important, and the right people see it and the right people recognize and understand it. Like, yes, we all want flowers. We all want our work to not be in vain. But I think that is like the point of continuing to do the good work, continuing to know that the letters you get from these young women who are going to play the WNBA one day because they saw you, or the women who are going to aspire to be lawyers or working as social workers because they know and they've seen someone at your level do those kind of things. I think that's the reward. I think that's the bigger picture. And I hope that's what they take from it, because I'm honored to work with women like that, right? Like, I'm honored to stand beside women who want to have effective change, regardless of if people like, top tier organizations recognize it.
I will say I 100% agree with you, but I also think that is always the road Black women and Black people in general have to take.
Yeah.
It's always I'm doing it for the better. You have to find the high road to the situation, and like, oh, well, that's not the reason I did it, so it doesn't really matter. But in reality, like, you would like that recognition at times, you know what I mean? And it's not that you're looking for it. It's not that you feel like that's the reason why you're doing anything, but it's like, it's discouraging to see how easily someone else can get awarded something and you put in more of the work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all.
But that's life, right? That's life. Like,
I think it's all relative. At the end of the day, again, like we said, we don't know what Brianna's been doing. We really don't. We don't know the money she's been donating. We don't know the time she's been putting in. And so I'm not trying to take away from her accomplishments. I'm not trying to make it a Brianna thing. I think it's just a system thing, right? It's an organizational, it's a machine that needs to recognize that they cannot just be performative. You cannot just say, we're listening, we're learning. I'm tired of the commercials. I'm tired of the branding, right? Like, I don't need to see another Black Lives Matter sticker on somebody's shirt or t-shirt that's not going to actually affect change. So that's where I'm at with all of it. Because it's cool to wear equality on the back of your jersey, but are you actually going to put the proper things in order for things to be equal? I don't think they'll ever be equal because we have a 400 here start from some others. But I want people to be better about recognizing privilege and responding accordingly. So I think that's still something that a lot of people don't do well from a lot of different aspects.
Yeah. So while we're on the topic of Black people and recognizing and all of that stuff, we're both members of Black media where we've done stuff in media, whatever the case may be, and we work in sports, covering sports. So I don't know about you or your experience, but I have seen how Black media members may not always be the first go-to for certain athletes or stories or whatever the case may be, right? Sydney Colson, WNBA player, said she recently tweeted this, and I feel like it resonated with a lot of journalists around the world, because I feel like a lot of people tweeted it, retweeted it, shared it, and you could tell that it like meant a lot, So I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna post it up here too, but I'm reading. Black athletes, I'm not saying you have to honor all media requests, but start showing some love to Black journalists. If you don't see any, then ask why. Okay, bye. Love the K, bye, right? Like, I'm just dropping it here, just leaving this for you guys to, little nugget. And I will say that I 100% agree with her as far as you don't have to honor all media requests. And I think this is kind of, I don't know if this is on the heels of Kyrie's, statement release where he didn't want to speak to media. He's like, instead, I'm just giving this note, which I still wasn't mad at either, because we know media can be tricky. But the statement of, if you don't see any Black journalists, ask why, that one I think was probably more like, yeah, I'm gonna need y'all to like start speaking up more. You know what I mean? What were your thoughts when you saw that tweet?
I feel like the first part of the tweet was really good in terms of honoring media requests. I think it's so important to recognize the fact that there aren't people in the room that look at like us often, right? We see a lot of Radio Row is very unmelanated. It's really tough to try and get in the door, period, but being taken seriously. And if we had players who were like, you know what, I'm going to ensure that I speak to every Black person in this room, or I'm going to make sure that their question gets answered first, or, I'm going to look to them, like give them the eye, like, hey, speak up, give them that confidence. I think that would go a long way. And not just in the sense of like, oh, it's funny when a little kid or, something like that, where it's like, oh, a one-off. Like, how about we genuinely try and give better efforts for Black media? But I also remember when I was at what is it called?
An
NBA
ABJ.
All-Star Week. No,
Oh,
NBA All-Star Weekend.
I was
And NBA
like,
All-Star Weekend, and there was the Basketball Wives. They had a luncheon, and Gabrielle Union was one of the speakers, as well as like Lala, and they came to speak. And Gabrielle made a point to say to the handler who was trying to like usher her in and like get her in up to the elevator, she's like, no, I'm going to speak to every single woman who has a question here. And I felt like that was just so different than what I've seen, with celebrities. Like everyone wasn't like that that came to that luncheon. Everyone wasn't willing to talk to the local girl or someone who wasn't a mainstream ESPN or big time name. And I felt like that was so important and necessary. And like I wish that would carry on to so many other stars. So like if you just took the 5 minutes, like that you might have the question, us being media, that something nobody else is going to ask because they don't even think to do that kind of research or that kind of prep. Like, hey, your mom likes sweet potato pie. Some certain people ain't gonna know that, right? They're not gonna know what to put in their greens. They're like those kind of conversations. But oh, hey, I hear you're from a certain part of where I'm from, and a certain hood XYZ. So I think it's just important to have that relational kind of bond, because we need to have more people who are willing to talk to us. That's the first step. If you had LeBron James having the shop, and he decided I'm only gonna have black girls come up and interview, or black, young black men kick it with me, talk shop, besides just celebrities. I'm just like regular media people. Like, hey, you want to know more intimate details of my life? That would be great. But it sadly doesn't happen. And I really don't know why. Do you?
no, I don't have an answer for why. I wish I did, but I also think like, again, this is not to exclude like media members of other ethnicities, whatever the case may be.
No.
It's just more so like we would like opportunities as well. But
Yeah.
I do think that what she said as far as pointing out to black athletes is that you got to remember how much power you have, and that goes
Yeah.
for telling your PR person like, I want to speak to this person or this small town local person who's trying to reach out. Granted, I know you don't always want to, and like she said, you don't always have to honor media requests. I
Yeah.
get it. It's not always the easiest part of the job. It's not always the fun part of the job.
Yeah.
Media can be annoying, or media can be agitating to deal with if they're not asking questions you want to, answer at the time or feel compelled to answer at the time. But in your general job, that is a part of it. And so when it comes to speaking to media, like it would be nice to see more of the effort go on beyond, okay, well, I'm just here. I don't care who
Well,
I
I
speak
will say also, yeah, black people, if you are given the opportunity and you are in a room ready to shine, be prepared, because that might be the one story, that one spark. I have a lot of friends who went viral off of conversations they've had. I remember the whole thing about Magic Johnson when he said he's basically essentially not coming back. That was literally one of my local friends who has a blog and what is it called? Website for covering sports. And she's just, one of us, right? She's not some big time media platform. And yet she was able to pull a clip that went viral and had millions of views within hours. So it's like, you just never know when your opportunity is going to be. So always be prepared and ready to go for it, because at the end of the day, you do this for a reason, right? Just because you don't see you in the room doesn't mean you're not supposed to be there. And I think that's a lot of times what we get flustered by, because we're like, I've never seen it. So I feel like that doesn't exist. And I wish we have more opportunities and more doors, because that's why imposter syndrome runs very deep. I know for me too.
Question. So the second part that she
Yes.
mentioned was, if you don't see any black media members in the room, ask why.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about that? Do you feel like if players were to ask PR, like, because I know a lot of people a lot of, reporters, whatever, are local that are coming to the scrums on a daily basis, right? I know I will say when I worked for, teams, like it was me and one or two others, depending on which sport we were covering, blah, blah, blah. Do you think if a player were to like be more upfront with PR, like, or even as far as like when it comes to having team reporters and stuff, if they were to be like, why don't we have more representation supporting our organization? Do you think that would make a difference?
Well, I think there's a bigger issue in terms of our industry, and it's hard for us to even be at the scrum roles, the local roles, because they don't pay well. So we're put in a position where a lot of people who don't look like us are afforded the opportunities because they can have somebody helping them while they're making minimum wage and XYZ. So I think there's a larger question of, can we have something in place? Can we have the LeBrons of the world starting these media academies? Or, his with Rich Paul and those kind of things, like building his foundation. Like, can we have some outlets for these young up and coming journalists who are really trying to get their shot, be in a situation where they can be in the room and have those conversations. So I think it goes beyond just asking why is it not, but also, you could, turn everything on its head and ask an organization, hey, why do you not have a more diverse talent pool? I don't know how far it will go. I think it depends on the stardom. I think LeBron can ask that question. I don't think, a Gerald Green from Houston Rockets can ask that, unfortunately. And he's a hometown hero and he's a hometown legend, but it doesn't hit the same. However, I do think the ones who are at not necessarily LeBron level, but maybe someone who's not like a superstar. Maybe a Kelly Oubre. Do you think he's a superstar enough-ish?
He can never get established long enough on a team. Like, they be bouncing him around. So I don't know if his voice is gonna carry. Not because he's not a star, but because his presence on a team. You're waiting to get that veteran presence somewhere and let people really get to know you and stuff. It's like, dang, I'm moving to the next city. So I think that's more of an issue with him, not necessarily
So maybe like a John Wall, because he's not LeBron level, right? Of fame and stardom. John Wall.
Oh well, yeah, but he's a big enough name to where
he can ask those questions.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to throw out names of who could ask those questions.
Technically, I feel like people could ask. The level of how much I'm gonna actually pay attention to you asking me is probably more so the issue, because I do think that players are players at the end of the day. They're still the stars of teams, right? Regardless, especially basketball, because it's only so many people on a team. Football, now them the ones everybody can't just ask. That's a whole different story there.
If you're not a starter, bro.
Even then, you might be ugh.
Lamar Jackson can ask. Robert Griffin III cannot.
Dang.
You gonna sit here and tell us
he was once a star? He was once a star.
He tried during that Ravens Steelers game. He was trying to get his old self back.
We're going back to last week, huh?
My poor guy. But I don't even want to talk football today because I'm all about the NBA and I'm feeling the rules.
Well, we actually are, but we are going to talk football, though.
Are we? Oh, yeah, we are at the end. Dang it.
Well,
it's not really football, but it's not really football.
Well, now. You might as well go ahead and dive in there now.
Yeah. All right. So since we're talking about Ravens, did you watch the Ravens and the Cowboys game on Tuesday?
I did.
The warm-ups that went down. It must the warm-ups of all warm-ups. I ain't never seen a warm-up be so spicy in my life. But
I didn't watch the warm-up as much. I didn't watch the warm-up as much as I watched the drama on Twitter into. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was a spicy warm-up because after warm-ups, apparently Dez Bryant tweeted out that he's like, "Oh my gosh, WTF? I have COVID. Nobody told me." So he barely got through his warm-ups and apparently had to go get retested, and it came back positive. So the first time it was inconclusive. We had to get retested. And the second time it came back positive. So it could be a false positive. We still don't know yet. However, it was his first game back against the Cowboys. Of course, his former team, he was trying to get revenge on them, all that good stuff. And yet he did not get to perform. And he took very much to heart the fact that he did not get to participate. He was a little disheveled on his Twitter feed. Decided he was going to drink some wine and just air it all out. And then he even went as far as saying he was done with it for the season. He was like,
I had every intentions of joining him with the wine when he was like, I had the intentions of doing so, but then
why didn't you?
I was driving back and forth from my mom's house, and so because I'm visiting family now this week, and so I just couldn't get a bottle. It just didn't work out that way. A little disappointing.
Don't drink and drive, kids.
Right. I wanted to sit back and, engage in the conversation a little bit, or at least watch the conversation happen. But first, I need to understand how this man warmed up, hugged some players from the former team. There was pictures of it a tweet got deleted. Did his full warm up, was in the locker room with these players,
Mm-hmm.
And yet, y'all didn't think to scratch the game, claiming that everyone else had tested negative. So at this point, you didn't think that if he is truly positive, that he may have passed it along to a few other people at this point, and then you're gonna allow
No.
those people to play in a game together to possibly pass it along to other people as well.
Cindy, you didn't know that COVID only lasts for 24 hours, so they can't possibly get positive tests during or contact tracing within, I don't know, an hour before game. That doesn't happen. COVID takes a break. You didn't know
So then
that?
here goes the other side.
Oh. Jerry
Who
Jones.
paid who paid off who to get Dez Bryant not to play in this game?
You know it was Jerry. You know it was Jerry. Jerry said, forget this. I'm not playing with y'all. I don't even want to deal with him getting a touchdown in our faces. He might be throwing the X up and it would just be too much. Let me just go ahead and slide this 100.
If that truly was the case, like say we knew that for a fact, how petty are you to go that far? I know you got money, so it's really not an issue. Money's not an issue, but how petty do you have to be?
I mean, at the end of the day,
It
you're
is
done with the
very.
drama. You're done with the drama from Dez. You don't want to deal with anything else. You don't want to have him tweet out like post game, like, "See, I told you guys you should have kept me." Blah blah. Blah. Let's just avoid all that.
But that's
That's what
like,
I wanted to do.
regardless, see, that's the thing. That's not fair because I mean, the man was given another chance. Y'all done found another way to shut him down.
Okay. Wait. Let's talk about this other chance that he was given because he was just on the practice squad, right? Got signed, and then he said, "I'm done for the season. Forget all this." Now,
I
for
would be
someone
done
who's
too. Forget y'all. No, forget
oh,
y'all. No,
okay,
forget y'all. How
okay.
you gonna shut me down like that? And it's not even legit. You should have shut the whole game down. We should have
It's
rescheduled.
COVID.
Like we needed to have rescheduled. I would have been like, how am I gonna if I have it, then everybody got it now because I didn't hug so and so. I would have started naming it. So what we doing?
If
What's
he
up?
was a gangster, he should have said who he was in contact with.
I mean,
He should have
there
name
was
dropped.
pictures of it. People know. People know that he was in
But I'm
contact.
talking about on his team and on the Cowboys. He should drop names.
So you dropping names?
Oh, I mean, if you just sat here and said if I'm not gonna play, I think he was doing too much when he started tweeting about how he's done for the season. Come on, Negro, you just cried about not being. Give me a shot, please give me a chance.
Okay,
You just got
reality is
it.
that like it is dramatic, but I'm not 100% against it either because I mean this season is kind of like trash anyways. If we being honest, like
But like,
it
I
is.
just after all of that, you're so quick to quit. After all of like you've done so much to get your body back. Like, yes, okay, you had a bad night. Just take the L. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
I mean,
okay.
but
Drink the wine.
I don't feel like his return was anything about like, oh, I need some money. His return was all for like
No, but
proving
that's
he
what I'm
can do it,
saying.
right? But then if someone takes away from
Exactly.
you, if someone's always gonna make an issue for you, like you'd be over it too.
One game, he would be all right. He's still gonna get his game check regardless, so he'd be okay. I wouldn't be
Well,
mad.
I
But
mean,
I'm
then
wondering, do
again,
they get their game checks if they have COVID? I'm curious.
I forgot. There's so many rules with that now. Like it has changed. No, seriously, like they implemented so many rules about like if you're sitting out, if this happened, and I don't know the rules about if you end up because like mind you, IR is different from COVID reserve list. So I don't know if they designated that if you are on the COVID reserve list, you will not get paid or
But
not.
can you designate it 20 minutes before
20
the
minutes
game?
before, apparently, apparently, okay, you
Well,
know.
speaking of rules and changing, OMG. Can we finally talk about the NBA? Because I'm ready to talk about that. There's some wild ass rules happening in the NBA
Oh
when it comes to this season.
yeah. So okay,
Honestly,
first off, wait. First
no,
off,
no, no, no.
no. First
You've seen
off,
college basketball. You've seen how college basketball is going, which means it's not. There were 40 teams today. 40 teams tweeted out today that were in COVID protocol, not practicing, shutting everything down. 40. Now the NBA is going to try to have a season 3 days before Christmas. Oh, okay, cool. There you
I
go.
just want to know. I just want to know how they plan on making sure that all these players follow these rules. Can you pull up the rules? Like, do you have them on hand? Go
See.
find them rules. Find them rules. Find them rules.
Okay, so we got the Woj rules. Let's say that 3 times fast. Good God.
Oh, Woj rules. Yeah, that's hard.
You only did it once.
Well, I mean, I heard it in the struggle. Like, I didn't need to try more than once. got it immediately. I am aware of my limitations.
All right, so rule number 1. The NBA shared an additional health and safety guideline with teams, this time 158 pages, allowing for team player dining at approved restaurants on trips, outdoor dining, and indoor restaurants, fully privatized space. So you only eat during team trips unless it's, closed isolation. Cool. At home, players and staff to enter bars, lounges, or clubs, live entertainment gaming venues with limited exceptions, public gyms, spas, pools, areas, or large indoor social gatherings, 15 or more people. All right, so whatever we saw James doing the other day, he can't do. And now we know that he has to take 6 COVID tests before he can rejoin the team. And he has to test negative 6 times. Traveling amid the pandemic is a great challenge for teams in this season. NBA and NBAPA are searching for ways to allow freedom, but also limit exposure to the virus. Teams will be notified of vetting process for the different restaurants. NBA will provide twice-a-week testing for household members of players and staff. League is encouraging that to enhance their protection throughout the season. So all your cousins, all your homies, all your girlfriends, wives, babies, they got to get tested. What? Why are you asking me?
Keep going.
So you have to get tested in order to, that's pretty much the gist of it, in order to be a part of the whole thing. So the whole clubs, lounges, and bars thing. So basically when you're at home and you're not playing, you can't do nothing but look at your walls, 4 walls. So that's cool for guys who are like established in the league and have homes and have, all their gaming systems, cool. But for the guys who are just starting out, who probably are living like in apartments or, they're trying to see their new city, it's not really going to be a go for y'all.
Can I just ask, how does the NBA plan on monitoring all of this?
I feel like they had the hotline in the bubble, where people were
that
snitching.
Was all, that had everybody all in one space.
No, I'm saying the snitch line is going to get bigger. So I think it's going to be kind of like, if you see a 7-foot tall, you see the 7-foot tall Negro outside. Oh, but it's easier for a football player to hide in plain sight. Because if you think about games, they wear helmets. You don't necessarily know who they are. But basketball players, you're pretty much. I'm gonna see Steph Curry in the kitchen.
I get it. They're super tall. They stand out. But still.
You can't hide nothing. And then you think about the first girl who's mad about something that goes on. She's immediately going to be like, so, where Ronnie was?
Why it's got to always be a woman? Why you got to put that on the women?
I don't see too many homies just getting mad and doing that. That's just not my spirit. I don't see that.
No, but I understand the precautions they're trying to take to make sure that they have a successful season, trying to emulate what they did, bring in the bubble, but just on a lighter scale, I guess. I don't know.
Why don't they have an East-West bubble?
That would have been smart. It really would have. Even if you must cut the West into 2, cut the East into 2, and like had smaller regional bubbles, and then whatever you have to do, if you want them to cross bubbles, then that could be a trip or whatever, right? That would have been smart. But I guess it's a longer time because, mind you, the bubble this time was just a continuation of the rest of the season they had left versus the full season. So I think that might be come into play. End of the day, I don't think it's going to work, just like the NFL didn't work, really. I know people are going to say it did because we're nearing Super Bowl, we're nearing playoffs, whatever, and it's still going on. But, like, look how many negative and positive tests we've had. Look how many injuries came of that. Now, granted, basketball had less of a break. So, and I mean, I feel like they kept in shape and, we're still active. So the injury part might not be as big of an issue, but we're going to see some COVID. We're going to see some positive tests. We know that.
Well, here's the problem. So in football, you have a 53-man roster plus your practice squad folks. That's easier to throw somebody in the fire, right? 4 people go down on a basketball squad. That's a wrap, big dog.
They calling up the G League.
They can't. I feel like they need to figure out the logistical and legalities.
Well, I definitely think part of that will be the same way the NFL was able to extend their roster this year. I believe that basketball will get to that point if they don't start off the season like that. I think
that's how people are going to get hurt too, because you're going to get your ankles broke by someone who's a 10-time All-Star versus somebody who's a G Leaguer, like pro
that's
G Leaguer.
That's the ego thing more than the actual injury.
I mean, either way it goes.
Like I say,
I don't know.
I have no faith in these leagues and their actions. Like the bubble actually worked, and I was happily surprised for their sake. But this situation, nah, bro.
So are you disappointed that Adam did not try the bubble yet for another time after knowing that it worked?
Yeah, I'm disappointed in him not trying to, like we said, evolve it in a way, make smaller ones, figure out how to. Yeah, I am, because you have the resources and money to do so. I don't care what you say. So.
But I'm also thinking from a revenue standpoint for teams and trying to get a group of fans to come watch games.
Okay,
Is
and that's a
that
whole
kind of the
nother thing.
reasoning?
That's a whole nother thing. All right, like, has that been announced then if they're going to try to do fans? Because I know I think, I want to say I've heard multiple teams already say they're not having fans. So, at least starting off, I don't know about moving forward throughout the season, but I've already heard multiple teams say that they will not be having fans at their games. So, what is that an issue of? Like,
You make good points, Cinderella. You make good points.
don't be telling people my nickname.
Honestly, at the end of the day, we know it's a hot mess, and we're going to fake like it's not, and we're going to fake like it's not wintertime in half these cities who are already experiencing snow and high volumes of flu and high volumes of sickness just from what we already have out here in this world. Then you want to add on top of that COVID, and I feel for people like Karl Anthony Towns who are trying to just get through this season. I don't even know. I could not even, I would opt out. I'm like, I have 6 people who passed away in my family, let alone everyone in this world that's dealing with that. 7, excuse me. I can't even imagine or fathom. So trying to fake like this is going to work and this is a great idea, I don't know how he's, soldiering on. I really don't.
I think to have someone as important as Cat in your league, like he's a top player in the league for sure, for you to see what he's gone through and for you to still kind of be somewhat callous about how you go about planning this season, it's tough. Like I understand it's tough. I understand there's bigger parts to the overall picture. I understand it's a business and I know things have to move, but we're just missing it. It's not a connection that I'm feeling right now.
Humanity is missing.
Yeah. And just saying my condolences are with the family and saying we're praying for you, like that's not enough.
But I also think that I don't want them to make him the poster child of this because that's not okay.
Right.
I will not be okay.
Not unless that's what he wants to do. If he wants to speak out and be in the forefront of that, yeah, sure. But I agree. I don't think make him. But at the same time, don't ignore the fact that your brother here in this league has gone through all of this because of this virus, and we're just gonna go along making these rules that we're not even guaranteed. No, not guaranteed. We know people are going to break.
Yeah, but if you look at somebody like Rudy Gobert, right, who didn't take it serious at all because he thought it was just, a casual thing to where he is now, I'm hoping that people learn lessons from him in terms of how serious to take it and how much it can affect a lot of things. I think what was that player from the Rockets who decided that he was going to have himself a good old time and violate the bubble space? But you know what I'm talking about. His name is Daniel House, right? So I'm really hoping that they learn lessons like this is not a game and fines. Like, okay, it's cool for certain fines ain't going to hurt LeBron and Chris's pockets. Like certain guys who are in the league who think they can get away with that, you're going to find out quick how much taxes take your money, how much, different fees, managers, all that kind of stuff. When you get these fines piled on because you want to have a good time, throw up one in the club, all right, okay, you're going to find yourself not at home because I feel like the NBA is very not forgiving with stuff like that sometimes. Like football, I feel like they try, but not basketball.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the rules. I'm not a fan of the plan. I don't think it's a good one. The bubble I was skeptical of, but I was like, okay, let's see. At least it's like isolating.
Yeah.
Because they really isolate. Like you had a wrist thing on, you couldn't just bounce around like you wanted to. It beeped and let people know that you were gonna get caught. That's the thing. This situation, not a guarantee. This situation, people can sneak around and do it, and they're not getting caught to that test shows that they were doing something they wasn't supposed to. So, I'm going to pray for all of
honestly,
those involved.
You just prepare your mind for when it gets shut down, and it's not surprising. So that's just where we're both at with it.
Praying for all those involved, from staff to, execs to the players to everybody. Praying for y'all, and I hope that everybody does what they're supposed to do so that they're not endangering others. But yeah, I'm not optimistic. Sorry.
I'm
Not.
not holding my breath. That's what I've been saying a lot lately. I'm not holding my breath because I'm genuinely just I've seen coaches in college game literally pull down their mask to yell at refs, and I'm like, that kind of defeats the purpose here. So I see that happening in tense basketball games. But we'll have to stay tuned.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it. Episode 6 in the books, under the books, in the books, whatever.
In the book.
Yeah, it's in the books. Book it. Run it.
Right.
Until next time, folks, thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you follow the pod on Instagram, _pod, where we get things going. We're already at 100 followers, and I'm really excited about that. So we're going to get to 200 by the new year. That's our goal. We're going to have a little thing. So if you haven't told your friend to tell their friend to follow us, you're doing yourself a disservice. So until next time.
Tell a friend. Tell a friend that knows a friend.
Yes. Cindy got a lot of fine friends.
Okay. Girl, I know you lie. I know you lie.
Woo,
bye, everyone.
Cindy got some supportive friends. All right. Oh, we can put that up too.
I'm gonna keep thinking that's what.
Until next time.
Bye.